love is actually a tapestry of all the emotions. If you've ever been in love, there's a little bit of fear in love, there's anger in love, there's lust, there's excitement, there's joy, can be a little bit of anxiety, and it's like going, oh, how can I be present to all of it? It's recognizing that this consciousness within which this experience, this sacred experience of life arises, is actually one. And the Wellness Hub is so much about us taking responsibility for our own healing. It's holistic. It's comprehensive in that there are so many options of routes that we can take. And I'm one to always say, don't necessarily believe what I have to say. Try it on.
Greetings, seekers of holistic knowledge and ancient wisdom. This is your show, Ancient Wisdom with Indigo Jedi. And today we're talking about one of the most ancient practices of all, the practice of yoga. I've got with me today Natalie Roseanne Hadlow, the founder of ChristLight Yoga and an expert in the field of yoga. Natalie, good day to you. How are you?
Namaste, I'm good.
I'm very glad that we could connect today and join and talk about one of my favorite practices, the practice of yoga. So tell me, Natalie, how did you get into yoga?
I kind of heard about yoga in the late 80s, and there was very little around. So I very quickly got my way out of Durban, a small town, and came to Joburg and worked 2 jobs and got myself out the country. So finding my way through to Holland, I lived on a Buddhist retreat and learned how to meditate there more than anything than the yogas. Then when I came back to South Africa, it was quite a challenge to find teachers. I did eventually find Iyengar, practicing the Iyengar and the Tibetan Buddhism. And I fell in love with it. I fell in love with yoga. I found the White Tantra and hence found Kundalini Yoga. Now, Pritam Khalsa, who brought Kundalini Yoga to South Africa in the 80s, I think it was the early 80s, I'd met her in Yeovil. She had the first holistic whole food shop. So as a vegetarian, she was my go-to lady, her and her bhajan. And the Kundalini Yoga is what they call a Raj Yoga, a princely yoga, a very high-level yoga that uses the technology of breath and mantra and deep meditation, as opposed to the Iyengar, which is founded and grounded in held postures, a lot of alignment. He was born ill, right? He had polio and all sorts of things that he corrected through the practice of yoga. So I was blessed to have that beautiful foundation in very strong alignment, and then to take that into the Kundalini, where they're not so focused on alignment and postures and are far more focused on the inner winds. So when you talk about that White Tantra, it's about the union of the masculine and feminine within us, the duality within us. How do I reconcile that? But first of all, we have to balance them, right? So that Ida and Pingala, left and right channels needs to be balanced. There's a lot of mantra. There's a lot of healing work in the Kundalini Yoga. And it's a little bit more focused on cardiovascular type movements like breath works as opposed to the held postures.
It sounds like yoga found you, and then you had to have every different flavor of yoga, and you tried all the different types. And it sounds like Iyengar is the one that you started with, was your first introduction to yoga, and then through your search for the White Tantra you found Kundalini Yoga, and then you did that quite deeply, and then you tried a whole number of other varieties.
Yes, yeah, blessed be. There were, more. I've been to India a few times and, had been exposed to many forms of yoga. And I guess we fall in love with that which resonates best with our beingness. I'd been teaching for 20 years and I took a sabbatical. I fell a little bit off the wagon And I had some students that had been with me for 20 years. And they were I'd say to them, I'm not teaching, come and practice with me, with pleasure. I'm practicing. And eventually, when I considered teaching again, they said to me, Natalie, please teach what you practice. And I channeled this practice called ChristLight Yoga. And it's a combination of Iyengar, Kundalini, and Vinyasa, and all the yogas. And I just share what I practice. And that's what I was asked to do. But again, ChristLight Yoga is very much focused on heart center and how do we get to sit longer in our heart centers. And that's our state of presence. That is the magic, and that is what we as a species need to do before anything else is learned. ChristLight Yoga is all about that, about how do we become whole and how do we access the center of being through the heart center.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, it's a very unique yoga style that Natalie actually teaches. So, like you said, it's a mixture of a variety of styles, and she's actually designed this yoga practice and a course, I guess, over 12 weeks that's really designed to open your heart and open your chest, and a lot of attention and thought has gone into that practice. So yeah, it's very unique and very different to any practice I've done before.
Thank you. The through movement into meditation. So that's going, okay, so how do I become meditative and present by just being in my body? Simple as that. And learn the basics of yoga. And then the ChristLight Yoga is the advanced practice of through movement into meditation. So it also runs over, I do 12-week intervals, which is a heal all, basically going through the chakra system, going through Ida Pingala, even going into Anahata. And Anahata and the Merkaba are same, right? Balancing that divine masculine, divine feminine, and getting stronger in your practice, really embedding it. And, those are things you just need to do all the time. The Sushumna requires that we get out of that bottom triangle, get out of the negative thinking, get out of our traumas, or we heal them, we balance them, get rid of the rubbish and put in the good stuff. Keep doing it. As I say, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water.
I was expecting something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Over and above well-being, healing, I am pretty much the epitome of the wounded healer. We lost faith. I lost faith in God very young, and I guess that if I was to be honest, I probably didn't know it, but I was always looking for God.
Yoga's been around for thousands of years, if I understand correct. The practice and teaching of yoga is many thousands of years old. Why do you think it's relevant today? I mean, it sounds like this old, archaic thing, just bending. I mean, I know the benefits. I've been doing yoga, maybe not as consistently as you have, but I've been doing it for about 2 decades or so, on and off. I definitely notice the benefits. But what do you think? Why is it relevant today, in today's time?
I think it's always been relevant. But I think that pretty similar to our disconnection as a result of dogmatic religion and the powers that may be, we were actually, it was hidden from us for a while. I think that we've forgot to practice. In my belief, we were alienated in many ways, and told that God consciousness is separate from us. To disempower us as a species, that was a great way to alienate us from our own divinity, from our own direct conscious contact with God. So yeah. I don't think that it was any less relevant, the practice. I think that the practice is a medicine that we know, and a technology that we know works for self-healing, for our connectedness, for our self-realization, for our self-actualization, for our wellness, for our spiritual, on a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical level. It is a heal-all. 5,000 years the feminine has been suppressed, and that hasn't just affected women. We're talking about a condition that has affected men as well, as much as it's affected women. Men were born of suppressed women, so the divine feminine was not available. So if you look at our history in terms of even childbirth, and how for so long the medicine women were persecuted.
It seems relevant that you're bringing that up, because it seems there's a big attack on the masculine now. So maybe previously there was the suppression of feminine, and or do you see it differently?
It's duality. We're encouraged to buy into duality rather than polarity.
Yes.
So if we haven't reconciled it within us, and we're able to really, really from the depth of our beings validate a divine masculine and worship it, nurture it, take care of it, validate the divine feminine, then we're imbalanced, right? And when there is imbalance in the system on every level, on any level, there's going to be this duality. One is better than the other, right? So again, it's forgetting that inside me and you is a masculine and a feminine. So,
Yes.
we're still stuck in the society and the system that says if it is different from you, reject it. Which is also the strategy of dogmatic religion and of the system, is to divide and conquer. Divide and conquer.
Correct.
You see,
Yeah.
everybody else is different. And if we are going into a state of oneness, then you are me and I am you. So what is in you that needs to be healed is in me to be healed too. What is in you that needs to be loved is in me to be loved as well, on a deeper level. So it's just this perpetual state of duality, where we're taught to fight what is different to us, rather than polarity, which embraces it. And we can take that to like nuclear fission and nuclear fusion, right? Fission was what the old school way. Blow it up, break it. Fusion goes, what if we took these massive magnetic poles and blasted open? And this is the work that I'm really, really invested in, is this, okay, so now we've got these extreme opposites. What happens when we bring that power of those opposites together and ignite through the heart? And that is the teaching that I'm bringing to.
Because yoga means union, right? So if I remember correct, yoga actually means union, but the meaning is so deep, right? Because it's not just the union, it's not just bringing union within yourself and your body, but it's also union with the earth, union with everyone else, that awareness of connection and that strength of connection that you build through the yoga practices.
It actually means,
I think it makes you realize, right, that
yeah,
all connected.
yes, that interconnectedness of everything, exactly that oneness, right? To yoke those polarities, and the power in that opposing force. That's the life force. It's not one without the other. It's not diminishing the value of either. It's actually letting both be really, really strong and powerful, and being okay. And if you think about it, in Bhakti Yoga, we teach devotion, emotion, transitioning emotion into devotion. And the Bhakti Yogas teach us that love, which everybody throws around this word love, very randomly sometimes, is actually a tapestry of all the emotions. If you've ever been in love, there's a little bit of fear in love, there's anger in love, there's lust, there's excitement, there's joy, can be a little bit of anxiety, and it's like going, oh, how can I be present to all of it? Right, and that oneness, yes, very much so, of all that is, recognizing that this consciousness within which this experience, this sacred experience of life arises, is actually one. It is not in duality or polarity.
That is so profound. So that's why they always say that love is the answer, and everything eventually is love, because like you explained, it's the mixture in a way of all the other emotions. So Natalie, you're going to be doing a talk, I know, at the upcoming Wellness
I'm very
Hub,
excited
the
about the
5th of
Wellness Hub.
November. Yes, and the last 2 talks you did were very well received. Tell me, what are you going to be doing this time? You had bowls, I remember last time. You did a bit of a sound experience for us.
So, what I work very strongly with is the astrology of the time and the energy of the time. And I think you know this about my work. I work very much with presence, and coming into presence means that I'm going to work with what's in the room. I bring a whole lot of tools. I will bring my singing bowls. I will bring my yoga mat. I will be prepared in terms of what us as a species, as a planet, are dealing with energetically at the time, because obviously the more people I work with, the more kind of general I have to get, unless there's something pressing in the room. You know, I'm guided to always have the highest intention for the people I am working with, and that is always my prayer, and that is how I come into the room, how I come into any situation, is going, what needs to be heard right now, what needs to be experienced right now, and that is the union, right, of the me and you, the us and them. So I'm, you know, my practice is to try and live that at all times. So I do come prepared with information about who we are, what we're dealing with. And the Wellness Hub is so much about us taking responsibility for our own healing. It's holistic. It's comprehensive in that there are so many options of routes that we can take. And you know, I'm one to always say, don't necessarily believe what I have to say. Try it on, give it a go. And there's so many options in terms of going, okay, well, I need a little bit more of the physical healing, or I need energetic healing, or I need some mental clarity, or, you know, so there's all that stuff to sort from. So I guess what I will be bringing to the Wellness Hub will be whatever energetically is most aligned to us as a species, as humanity, stepping into our wellness at that time. And I think it's in November, right? November the 4th.
Yeah, the 5th of November.
Okay. Yeah. Because these channels are being opened, and because our DNA is being upgraded, we've got access to very, very new information. And the most interesting thing I've learned, Deepak, is that I get guidance one day, the next day it might be very invalid. It's sometimes moment to moment to moment to moment. In other words, you know, the acceleration of change that we're experiencing on the planet at the moment and as a species means that we've got to be so adaptable. I've got to be really on it. So I always come to a talk or a class over prepared, but in the moment, in that moment when I'm sitting in front of you, your sacred being, what serves, I cannot predict.
That's really wise, to be really present, right? So not to plan too much, and rather just be prepared, like you say. So you have all the tools, you know all the content, but when you're in that moment, you're just going to feel the audience and also what's relevant at the time, right? Based on the planets and all this energy that's coming, you know, here to Earth. You're going to just go with the flow. I wish I could learn to do that. I'm very much focused on planning and trying to stick to a plan, which obviously never goes according to plan.
Exactly. you just hit the nail on the head. But you're getting there, my darling.
Yeah.
You're a student of yoga, and you're my student. I'm so honored to have you in the class and in the room every time, because I take myself to the mat every time. That's my biggest preparation. There's a hollow data that's going to come with me, yes. But the most important thing is that I am living, eating, breathing what I'm practicing and what I'm sharing, which means that my most important preparation is actually sitting on the mat, centering myself, becoming present, having gratitude, praying, meditating, and showing up as a whole self, connected and aligned and present to what is. And honestly open to what needs to be heard and shared beyond my own ego thinking that thinks I'll sound cleverest if I say X, or look the best if I do Y. You know, there's all that. I have to deal with that. There is that little me inside that sometimes wants to step on the podium. And I've made a conscious decision to serve the highest, most sacred, the infinite intelligence, and serve my fellows.
Yeah. The one thing I must admit, I'm fascinated really by how yoga is so simple in terms of you just need your body, really.
I beg your pardon, you've glitched still?
I mean, the amount of accessories you need are very limited, right? And you can do so much just with your body alone. It's very powerful. I don't think people really understand this body, this technology, and how to use it. And I feel yoga really helps you to align your understanding of your body, really go within and really get to understand what this body is capable of.
Know
It
thyself,
really stretches you.
right? So I think that's
Know thyself, yeah.
one of the highest practices, is really working out, and that's how the Wellness Hub ties into this, and what I was speaking about just now, where we need to become incredibly intimate with ourselves about what our needs are. And that means tuning into, listening to, taking care of ourselves, knowing what our shortfalls are, really having early warning signs that let us know, oh, I'm a little bit out of balance here. And yoga can help us on that level, in that way, in so many levels. You know, but the highest aspiration is to know ourselves, and when we know ourselves, we can really start tuning in. Okay, what's the higher self? And then we start becoming curious and being able to sit in the God space, God consciousness, more and more often, because the little self we're able to put it to the side for a little while. It's been heard, it's been taken care of, we're well, we're balanced. So what next? Right? How do I sit in divine presence longer and longer? Christ consciousness teaches us that it can all sound very, very complicated, and it just isn't. We all aspire to be happy, and we aspire to a state of beingness that is in alignment with love, the love energy, right? Equanimity, balance, all those things. You just have to go to the heart over and over again. And my prayer is that we all have the capacity to come into the heart center and crack it open again and again and again and again and again. And I am so compassionate to all beings for the very fact and nature of our hearts cracking open is really uncomfortable. But the rewards are infinite. And I want to say to you, have the courage to go back into that heart center, be present to all your emotions again and again and again. Love yourself. Learn what you need that shows your self-love, which is your wellness and your health, your aspirations. And it's from that place that this infinite source of love can flow through you and to others. It's always there. It's consistent. It really is. It is only our small mind, our small self, our ego self, that allows us to believe that it is not present. It is ever present. So open the heart, be sensitive, be blessed. Namaste.
That is such wise words. So instead of pretense, be present.
I love that. That's beautiful. Yes, instead of pretense,
Because I
be
think
present.
everyone is so, pretending to be someone else. Be authentic with yourself. Just be present and feel those emotions. But thank you so much, Natalie. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed talking about yoga and learning about, all the background about this practice from you and how it connects us all together. So there will be Natalie's contact information on the description below. You can get hold of her. ChristLight Yoga is a brilliant yoga practice that I can vouch for. And Natalie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you for having me, Deepak. It's been an absolute pleasure.